Hi, everybody. This is Gad Saad. I was hoping to take a bit of a break from posting clips, but as you now should know, the tsunami of lunacy keeps crashing on the shores of reason, and so here I am. Today, I'd like to talk briefly about two stories. The first one involves a young student by the name of Mimi Groves and a former classmate of hers by the name of Jimmy Galligan. Uh, Mimi had posted a short 3-second clip several years ago when she was 15, I think in 2016, where she basically said she had just gotten her learner's driving permit. And she said, while looking at the camera, I can now drive, and then the N word, or something to that effect. Now, the context in which she was using it is probably she was trying to be cool, she's hip, she's part of the street lingo. She didn't probably understand that, the rules about if you are black, you can use the word, but if you are white, you can't use the word, which by the way, this is the type of linguistic policing that I think is dreadful in a free society. People, of course, should be nice and should not use words that they know will hurt others, but we don't create a system whereby some people can use some words and other people can't, and so on. That's a quick path lunacy. In any case, her cohort, her class cohort, decided to save the clip for a day where he could inflict maximal devastation on his classmate. And he admitted to this, apparently. And so he waited till he found out that she had been accepted to the University of Tennessee and she was going to be part of the cheer team and so on. And then he released it. And now the entire world has gone after her because she is literally indistinguishable from Himmler or Hitler. She's probably worse than both Himmler and Hitler. I mean, all they did was create a mass extermination of an entire people. Whereas she used a word that you're not allowed to use because, systemic racism. And so who knows what's going to happen now to her career. Now, a couple of points here to make. Number one, imagine this young woman. Would I be advising her to not use such words? Of course. I mean, don't use such terms. They're vulgar. They have clear historical connotations. But she used it like a buffoon 15-year-old who's trying to be cool and appear as though she's got street cred. Okay, so she made a mistake. Now imagine the extent to which the guy in question, who decided to be so premeditating in his sadism, what kind of human being that person is. By the way, he's biracial, so he's entitled to destroy her career because he's been damaged by her use of that word. If I had a tape of the kinds of insults I received when I played in Montreal in the 80s in the Black League, it was called the Black League. This was a league that was exclusively made up of black players. There were two guys in the league who were not black, myself and another gentleman on my team who was a goalie who was white. And if you saw the kind of abuse I took, I mean, linguistic abuse I took from opposing players, then every one of those players should have been executed by now for linguistic crimes. But it turns out that I'm anti-fragile. It turns out that I am not so broken up. And by the way, Mr. Jimmy Gulligan, or whatever his name is, Galligan, certainly did not go through the victimhood that I went through growing up in Lebanon as a Lebanese Jew, and yet I was able to dust off those insults, dribble past all those idiots, score goals on them, and then show them who was true boss. And I did that not by crying in a corner, but by outplaying them, by taking their insults and overcoming that through my infinite skills and abilities. So anti-fragility, as I explained in the Parasitic Mind, is something that allows us to grow. And tip of my hat to Nassim Taleb for his coining of that term. Fantastic concept. In any case, so what Mimi is going through is dreadful. I hope that she'll be able to have the sufficiently strong personhood to not let her drive her to despair. This is not the end of her life. Be strong. You can apologize if you'd like or not. 15-year-olds make stupid mistakes, and this is just part of growing up, and hopefully she'll get over it. The gentleman who decided to be sadistic in his premeditation of how he could inflict maximal damage on her should truly be ashamed for the execrable cretin that he is. He truly is a damaged, sadistic human being. And again, this says nothing about whether what she said is good or not good, but it says that someone could be that calculating in how they serve as the punisher. Oh, by the way, this reminds me of my colleague, David Sloan Wilson, who, if you remember, when I was critical of Nancy Pelosi, he decided to report me by tagging all of our colleagues. And then when I challenged him on it, he said he was altruistically punishing me. Do you remember that clip? Well, this is what this guy's doing. He's altruistically punishing her. He's the great moralizer. And if he has to end her life, or at least her educational life, because she said a racial slur when she was 15, not even in a negative way, but to appear cool, so be it. So that's number one. That's the first story. This is what happens when cancel culture invades every one of the DNA of our society. And anyways, in any case, let's move on to the next story. The next story is my main man, Alec Baldwin, and his Señorita, Hilaria Baldwin. It turns out that Hilaria Baldwin, who, cucumber. Turns out that she's not born in Spain. She's not a Latina. It turns out that she's American. She speaks fluent English. But for years and years, she's put on the charade that she is Latina because then she could get collective Munchausen by proxy, you know? You never get people who fake their identities by pretending that they are Swedes. But you get Rachel Dolezal pretending to be black when she's white. You get Elizabeth Warren pretending to be Native American when she is white. You get Hilaria Señorita Baldwin pretending to be Spanish when she's born in Massachusetts. And so this is exactly what I refer to in the book here as collective Munchausen by proxy. It's a dreadful psychiatric disorder, but it comes from the rewarding of victimology currency. So there you have it. If you haven't bought it yet, what are you waiting for? I hope that we will soon destroy all of these idea pathogens. It is disheartening to no measure to see what our societies are becoming as a result of these dreadful parasitic infestations. Happy New Year to everybody. And I wish you health, happiness, and love for 2021. Cheers.